Hey everybody, before starting this week's episode, we wanted to stop and talk a little bit about the sponsor of our episodes, and that is Expedition Roasters, the artisanal roasters of pop culture inspired coffees.
You know, in these stressful times where we can't go to the parks and experience all of our favorite things and get those wonderful smells, it's nice to have a bit of that with us here at home, and you can definitely have that with Expedition Roasters.
Yeah, and there's a myriad of flavors that you could choose from depending on kind of what you want to reminisce about in a certain way. I mean, you could easily choose Route 66 Tire Fix, which is their morning blend coffee, which, you know, obviously is reminiscent of Cars.
Yes.
So imagine walking into Cars Land, the asphalt fresh with the water that is evaporating after they cleaned off the entire area, fresh in the morning. You just walked in the gates, something like that. Or you could do Fortune and Glory, which is their Indiana Jones inspired coffee, which is bourbon streusel.
That's so good.
So,
but my favorite is Happily Never After.
Yes, your favorite is Happily Never After, and I have to say that one of my favorites is the Wonderland Coffee Crumb Cake.
That's
good.
And
for all you coffee drinkers out there, it is such a well-balanced mix of flavor and the actual coffee flavor.
And the bags are super pretty.
Yeah, the artwork on the bags are pretty incredible, and you could actually buy the art on the website itself, too.
Yeah.
From the actual bags.
Which you should, because it's so cool.
Yes. So if you find yourself needing a little bit of a pick-me-up, but you want to reminisce a little bit about the parks, I would highly suggest checking out Expedition Roasters, heading over to expeditionroasters.com and purchasing some coffee from them. You could definitely use our coupon code for your first time purchasing coffee, which is a Duo15 at checkout. And remember, brew your happy place. Expedition Roasters, an adventure in every bag.
Hi, and welcome to the Theme Park Duo podcast. Grab your park map, churro, and hop in line with us as we take you on a coast-to-coast adventure through the world of theme parks, haunts, conventions, and more. Now, here's your hosts, Nikki and Gabriel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a slightly late episode of the Theme Park Duo podcast. I'm your host, Gabe, today, and we have a very special guest host on the show today by the name of Rick West of Midsummer Scream. How are you, sir?
Hey, buddy. Good to be with you. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am finally being able to take a deep breath of relief because we just moved.
Yeah, you did.
We moved from LA to Simi Valley, and it was a tremendous feat. I hate moving.
Yeah,
it's the worst thing ever.
And
it's the worst.
You chose the coolest weekend of the month to do this.
Yeah, record heat, of course. Like 121 in Woodland Hills. Yay, that's the best.
Satan's all, welcome to Simi Valley, Gabriel.
Welcome, bitch.
He's all turning up the heat.
You want to know how hot it was? It was so hot that our TV
How hot
warped.
was it?
Our TV warped in the truck.
No, it did not, dude.
It did. That was how hot it was. Yeah, so we went and bought a new one, but we had insurance on it. We had insurance on it. So we're getting money from that. I already purchased a new TV, the exact same one.
Holy crap, dude.
Yeah, so I'm very concerned about my records because I haven't opened that yet.
Oh, man. Okay, well, let's not think about that for the next hour.
No, I'm definitely not going to be thinking about that because the thing on the top of my head right now is all the delicious food that both you and I got to try at Knott's new event, which is Taste of Knott's.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, both you and I went. We didn't go together, obviously. We went on separate visits, which I actually think will be beneficial to kind of talking about it because you saw a different day and experienced different operations. And I went on a separate day and experienced something totally different as well. So I think it'll be kind of nice to have a conversation of what we both experienced.
Sure,
and, you know, this was kind of the first time that I stepped into a theme park since COVID happened to the world, and I know that's with you too, and I could probably assume that there was a lot of emotions involved.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I hadn't been to Knott's since December of last year, and
so Mary Farm was the last thing you saw.
Yeah, that was the last thing I saw at Knott's, and then I was at Disneyland the day before Rise of the Resistance opened because I went for a preview of that. But that was the last time then that I went to any park. So, but for not specific, hadn't been since last December, and it was just really surreal, like walking through the California marketplace. The thing that first struck me as strange, and it doesn't really have anything to do with Taste of Knott's, was that they have that whole through street. They've created that as a dining area now with tables outside,
which is really nice. I actually really like it.
It is really. First of all, it's jarring because it's like, what? I've grown up my entire life. It's been a street through there, right? And so when you go and suddenly it's a pedestrian walkway with tables and things, it's kind of it took me aback, and I started taking pictures because it's obviously historical, and once TPA, always TPA. So I'm taking pictures to document this stuff, and but I then said to my group, I said, they should consider this after COVID, maybe just closing this off and seeing that obviously it probably belongs to the city. So they'd have to work with the city of Buena Park. But I mean, to get that closed off, to make that a permanent pedestrian avenue, I think that would be fantastic, since a lot of cities around the country are kind of doing that with some of their main thoroughfares. Like
the alfresco dining.
Dude, San Francisco is doing that with Market Street, which is pretty amazing that San Francisco is doing that. That's a major artery through the city, but they're slowly turning that into a pedestrian corridor. And I think that that's really, really freaking cool. I mean, obviously Las Vegas did it with Fremont Street years ago, and that's obviously turned out to be very, very good. But I really think that Knott's, someone there has got to be seeing this and going, this is kind of a cool thing. So who knows what this will bring in the long run when COVID is in our rearview mirror.
Potentially, I honestly could see them, getting rid of that street entirely and just kind of paving it over.
Yeah,
so
totally.
that there's no longer a drive-through area of Knott's. Which, I'm going to be fairly honest here, trying to pull up into those streets and everyone trying to move over lanes is a pain in the butt anyway. Yeah. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over them getting rid of that road, even though I have memories of driving up to that road for Haunt and for Mary Farm and Scary Farm, everything.
Sure.
So it is an interesting and very different take on an experience going to Knott's, and I think entirely when it comes to COVID, the entirety of this experience is completely different and has changed, and COVID will change the world of theme parks and entertainment as a whole forever. Basically, I think there will be good that comes out of it, which at least that's the good side of me talking. I think there will be good to take out of this.
It'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
Yeah, it would be interesting. It is going to be interesting to see what decisions they end up making. But when it comes to actually visiting the park, in general, I was relatively impressed with the amount of care that was taken for guests to ensure everyone's safety, not just visitors, but the employees as well. I really felt like Knott's Cedar Fair did a pretty fantastic job of really making sure they dotted their I's and crossed their T's.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into it more into the weeds a little bit later, but I mean, overall, I was very impressed, and I never once we were there for about 5 hours, and I would say the entire time I never had any moment where I felt icky, about anything.
Exactly.
Everything felt very safe, very secure, very well thought out, and even though we went on a Sunday, we went last Sunday, so it was a sold out weekend day that we went Sunday. The longest line that we waited in was like 5 minutes. And it was very smooth. And even though the event was quote unquote sold out, and I don't know what their capacity is, nor do I think they'd want us talking about it if we knew, it didn't feel like, holy shit, this is like a really crowded Haunt night or anything like that, or busy, it wasn't even a fraction as busy as a normal like Boysenberry Festival day. So it was totally enjoyable. And I got to give a shout out. My girlfriend Nova and I were taken by Gary Baker, who's our MIDSUMMER executive producer, and also Kevin Horton, who's been a longtime friend of mine. Back in the day, he used to be my escort as TPA through all the mazes and everything at Knott's when we were shooting.
Nice.
And Kevin has worked there for 80 million years. And so they just said, hey, we want to treat you guys and take you to this event. So huge thanks to them, because it was really,
really nice.
Really a cool surprise and outing. And I don't know honestly, that I would have gone if it had not been for them saying, hey, you know, we want to treat you to this. So huge shout out to them and thank you to them. But no, it didn't feel like gnarly at all in any regard the entire time we were there.
No, yeah, not at all. And let's just jump into it here. You know, walking up to the park obviously is very different now. And with the parking and the masks, waiting to get into another line in order to do the temperature check now is very, very different. I do think that there should be some type of organization when it comes to deciding how people get in line for that. Because at least when I went, it was just kind of people kind of huddled around the entrance waiting for it to happen, and then everyone kind of just bum rushed it almost.
Okay, so we got there in the afternoon. We decided we wanted to do 4 p.m. until park closed, which was 8. We figured that would be really nice and pretty to see it turn into evening time at Knott's. And so when we got there, literally when we went through security, we literally not security, before security, which is where the temperature check is, there was nobody in the queue. So that's fantastic. We just snaked through the queue. We went into the tent, and I told my team, I said, well, this is the closest we're going to get to a haunt maze this year. And so it was the COVID test site. It was the theme of the maze. And so we just did the quick temperature check, and walked right then past that towards security.
By the way,
we had no wait at all.
How cool is that temperature check? How cool is that temperature check?
That's cool. We had seen that before. I went when Vegas quote unquote reopened in June. We went for a weekend, and a lot of the casinos employ that, where you walk into the casino and you pass by a camera that looks at you with infrared or whatever. So I had witnessed that before in person in Vegas, but it's great that Knott's is employing that.
And it's really smooth. It's a smooth process, at least. Well, I mean, from your perspective, I mean, you showed up a little bit later. There was no line. Yeah. But for me, having gone and there was a line, you know, everybody was respectful of the 6-foot rule. Everyone was listening to the stickers on the floor. And then it was just a very smooth process. I even just stood there watching the process happen. And the employees were very, very quick about getting people in and making sure that people were, you know, not having a temperature, which I don't know. You know, anybody who would want to go when you're feeling crappy to a theme park in the first place.
Yeah, of course.
And I didn't witness anybody get stopped, but it was nice to see that process being very fluid and very easy, especially going into security check, which that ended up being inevitably a little bit easier as well for myself. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the pacing of that line, but it really made security much easier, which is nice.
Well, I think security is easier because they didn't have me put my phone and wallet and keys and all that in a they just kind of flagged me through. So it was super easy.
They holding in your hands. That's what at least they told me. Yeah, you're just holding in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I held my phone up there and they just like waved me through. They're like, "Come on, dude." So it was to me it was painless. It was so smooth. And thus far, everybody, and in fact, for the whole thing, not just thus far, but everybody was very friendly. All the employees, very friendly. They didn't seem stressed out. They didn't seem like, oh, this is such a drag to do this. Everybody has adapted. They were all wearing the masks, and they were wearing their masks properly. That's a big thing. And, you know, that it just followed through the entire time. I didn't see one employee at Knott's the entire day not wearing their mask or not wearing their mask properly. And in fact, you could hear, I believe it's Ken Parks who's doing the constant announcements over the PA system, telling guests to please remember to wear their masks and to keep their noses covered as well. So Knott's is like totally on it when it comes to, hey, wear your shit properly.
Yeah, and that's actually a really important point because a lot of people don't.
Right.
You know,
and they might as well not be wearing a mask at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like when talking about that recording, when you're in the park, just to kind of like further go into it, this recording happens like every 10 to 15 minutes.
It felt that way, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it is a constant reminder of wear a mask, wear it properly. Don't walk around and eat and drink. You can only take off your mask when you're seated, eating and drinking in designated areas.
Yeah,
those are the rules.
And I saw most people. Yeah, most people were following that. You of course there are random people that even as that's going off, they're walking around, you know, eating or drinking with their masks off, which is like, dude, whatever. Some people just don't get it. Even if you hit them in the side of the head with a 2x4, they won't get it. So
that's the X factor, though, with any place.
Yeah, anything. And
people,
not
wanting to listen.
In general, right?
You're going to encounter that everywhere.
But I did witness, like, we were at one place and there was this little boy. He was probably about 6 or 7, and he was running around playing. And an employee came right up and was very polite but firm and told the parents he needs to be wearing a mask at all times. And I thought, you know what? That's awesome that they're like even enforcing it on little kids, because most people are saying, well, little kids are fine. But you know what? Kids can carry it just like adults can carry it. I don't care what people say. It's been proven now that kids can transmit and carry it.
Exactly.
So I thought it was great that they were on top of that.
Even when it comes down to it, even if it wasn't the case of kids being able to carry it, the kids need to be protected, period.
Yeah,
from that. And people need to have like a good, example to be setting for everyone else about following the rules. Because you can't, like, even outside of COVID, you have to follow the rules of the theme park. You can't just do whatever the heck you want whenever you want to do it. Right. There are set rules. Right. So it's good to establish those rules regardless of who it is. Yeah. And I did encounter that situation plenty of times, sitting down, watching, somebody who eat and drink, and then an employee would approach them and be like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but, you need to be sitting in a designated area while you're eating. You can't be walking around. Or even somebody who had it below their nose. I was in line over by Boardwalk Barbecue, and somebody got in line, had it right under their nose. Someone approached them, and a Knott's employee, and said, hey, can you please pull your mask up over your nose?
That's great.
And there were moments where, there was no security. There were no Knott's employees and things, and people were walking around with their masks on their chin and stuff, which happens. But because of that limited capacity, I don't have to be brushing shoulders with that person. I can see them from 50 yards away, which is nice. They're in the open space and area of Knott's Berry Farm, which I think worked out really, really well. And then you were kind of talking about like capacity wise. Like I went in the morning, you went in the evening. The first 2 to 3 hours of the park being open, which by the way they open at 12, it felt like a ghost town, no pun intended. There was nobody there. I sat in front of Timber Mountain Log Ride for maybe 25 minutes, just sipping my Boysenberry beer and eating my treat. Yeah. And I did not encounter more than 3 people walking by me.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
And
that's great.
And I was able to kind of sit down, enjoy that water, the splashing of the water coming down from the waterfall with my beer, and just kind of just have a moment to myself, essentially. Yeah. And that's something that you don't get too often, and you get to really appreciate, especially now. So, I didn't encounter that many people. And even when it did start to get more crowded, which inevitably theme parks, people come a little bit later. Yeah. It didn't feel like anything worse than a really light day at the park. Yeah. It never felt overwhelming. Right. It never felt like I couldn't get around people. I think that even at its most crowded, there were areas that were slightly more crowded, but if you know Knott's Berry Farm, then you know how to get around those situations. Yeah. You know how to approach it and avoid those crowds, because there's always a way around, because that place is a maze, but it doesn't have a normal layout. But I was actually impressed with the amount of people that were in there. I don't know how crowded it was for you guys when it was later in the evening.
I think that it's safe to say, I agree with you that it felt like a very light day. Yeah. I can't imagine that the capacity, I can't imagine for this event that their capacity was more than a couple thousand people. Because it certainly did not feel that way. And like I said, we encountered like no lines, which was amazing to me, because that's one of the drags about like their other food festivals or any food festival is, Jesus, you have to wait forever for a line, right?
But see, like this is something that I think that they learned from the last event, because they did Taste of Calico. Yeah. And I didn't do that one because me and Nikki and I wanted to like hold off and see how it went. Yeah. We wanted to see how the procedures went, if people were listening. So we had friends come over, and we had an episode where our friend Nico from Entertainment Connection went to that event, and he talked to us about it. And a lot of the problems that he had with the event seemed to be alleviated in this by different steps that they were able to take. Yeah. So he was talking about like lines being, past the point of where there was stickers on the ground, even though there was Knott's employees there to make sure people were 6 feet apart, the lines were that long. People were waiting 30 plus minutes for a piece of food. So, what I think they ended up doing was, one, opening up more of the park, which then in turn allows them to put more food locations.
Which is what I've been, since they started the Berry Festival, I've been saying, why is this not park wide? I mean, the textbook reason was because all this stuff has to be prepared in the main kitchen, and that the other side of the park, like Fiesta, doesn't have all that. But you know what? Now they do, because they have these different restaurants. So now you are able to see these events being held throughout the park, which is something that fans, myself included, have been asking for years with these special events. So that is good. That is good to see. And I think that we have seen that come to fruition, and it really has spread the crowds out.
Yeah. And I think another part of that really helps alleviate crowds and kind of disperses people more is the fact that not one single food item is only located at one single spot.
Right.
So, so like as an example, like I have the lanyard right here in my hand.
Me too. I got my homework. Here's my lanyards right here. I got it. I'm prepared.
So like the Boysenberry basil lemonade, you can get that at like 2 or 3 different locations instead of just going to one and everybody having the lineup in that one, which was initially the problem. Right. So it's nice that you could actually go anywhere in the park and find a location that has certain little items that are the more popular things. So that really helps to spread the people out, which I really appreciated, because if you've been to Boysenberry Festival, you know that it gets really hairy at times.
Yeah.
Especially for like boysenberry meatballs or boysenberry elote or the chicken wings. Those items usually tend to gather a lot of people around it and have a really long line. And especially now, because of the way things are, I'm glad that they were able to implement more locations so that people were spread out. It's just a very smart way of going about it.
I think it's a win-win for everyone.
It really is.
Everyone.
It really is.
Us, the park, everybody.
So yeah, I was impressed by that. I even got to speak to a couple people who were working the event, upper management people, and I was telling them that I was very impressed with the steps that they were taking in order to ensure guest safety. Because as we said, I don't think there was any moment in my experience, from coming into the park, eating, walking around, that I ever felt, like you said, icky,
right,
gross. Like, I don't want to be around here. I don't feel safe. And I was fully freaking prepared to leave. Nikki and I both said, if you don't feel safe, leave.
We're out. We're tapping out.
There's no point in that. Yep. And we would be sitting here and I would be telling you that, because I'm not going to BS this. I'm going to tell the truth, because the safety is important.
Of course.
If there's room for improvement, I'm going to say it. I'm not scared to say those things, but there really wasn't anything that I thought was egregious to the point where I felt unsafe.
Yeah,
because I feel like they really thought about those steps. They planned it out well, and were able to adjust accordingly by learning their mistakes from the previous tasting event, and really made this event make me believe that it's possible to have a theme park open to a certain extent while still keeping people safe.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great, and we just keep reiterating the same point, but it is important, because even though Taste of Calico is wrapping up, there will be other events like this, and I think it's important that everybody does realize that, dude, you and I are both 2 seasoned theme park fans and goers, and I didn't see one thing where I was like, oh no, that shouldn't be. Everything was really well done and really well executed.
Exactly. And let's not bore anybody more with the COVID talk. Let's actually get into the literal meat of this conversation.
Oh, I see what you did right there. I see what you did, Gabe.
I'm getting a little witty here. I'm a little witty.
Yes.
But there's incredible food at this event, like any other Knott's Berry Farm food event, or really any seasonal event.
Yeah.
Knott's always does an incredible job of providing unique and interesting and tasty food items for guests that like to come enjoy it. So, some of those things that I got to enjoy, of course, boysenberry meatballs. Who doesn't want boysenberry meatballs in their mouth?
Yep. No, I totally agree. And to back it up just a second, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I also I want to say, and I've said this again for a long time to anybody that listens to whatever I'm saying about Knott's, is that I don't think that any other theme park out there handles their food operations as well as Knott's does. The offerings that Knott's has, whether it's regular food offerings throughout the year or during these special events, I don't think that anybody comes close to for price point as well as quality. Yeah, I mean,
actually, that is a very good point.
I can't think of another. I can't think of another park. I mean, I've done food festivals at Epcot, which is like the mother of all food festival, type things, and I felt that it was kind of a waste of money and a waste of time, since World Showcase usually itself is a food festival. And it just was so ungodly crowded and just not really terribly enjoyable, to be honest. And I've done things here on the West Coast with DCA doing their things and
food and wine.
Yeah, like spending an arm and a leg, and you get it's like having a church communion glass, type of something. You're like, what the hell is this, Padre?
Yeah, everyone's sipping from the same glass.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know about this. So Knott's has always, I thought, been very fair for the price point and the quality of food since they upped their game several years ago in the food department. I don't think that they're touchable when it comes to this stuff. I do think that they are the best.
I totally agree that I think that the price point and the quality of that food is something that is pretty much unmatched.
Yeah.
And, I believe that the tasting cards for this event run about $35 and you get 5 tastings.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, that's not that much. And especially given the fact that some of these items, the serving size is ginormous.
Yeah,
way
some of it's
larger
pretty good,
than I was expecting.
Yeah, some of it seemed kind of small, but that's just the nature of these events. But then other things were like, wow, that's a really generous portion. And the point of this is a taste of Knott's. It's not a gluttony of Knott's. That's not.
I want that event,
right?
Though.
We do want that, right? And all you can eat. It'd be like $150 a person, and you could just eat all you wanted of anything.
See, what I want them to do,
that would be the best.
I want them to get a barrel, and I want them to fill that barrel up with boysenberry beer, and then they allow you to dunk your head in, and you just drink as fast as you can while your head is submerged in boysenberry beer.
I'm all about that.
Or
I'm all about that, dude.
Bobbing for boysenberry meatballs. That too.
Wow, in the beer.
In the beer. Exactly.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing, dude.
Knott's. Those are free ideas.
That's it. That's
run with it. Do it.
That's awesome.
Not in the age of COVID. Don't do that, actually.
Yeah, no. Or not in the age of anything. That barrel has to belong to you, because I'm not going after you and then I'm using your chest hair to like floss my teeth after I get my... That's not happening. So,
But you normally like my chest hair, so I don't know what the issue is.
This is way off the rails already.
I don't know what you were expecting. This is what the audience is expecting.
This is true. They expect this. They expect this from both of us. So
yes.
But dude, I think that the portion, the price points are good for the portion. One thing I will say before I forget it, and we can talk about strategies or whatever if you want go forward. But I mean, I have always learned in these things, and again, it was like it was made clear to me again this time. Don't use one of your tastings for the drinks. My suggestion is to just, if you're going to get a boysenberry beer, buy the boysenberry beer, and you get a regular size beer for what you'd expect to buy for a beer for at Knott's, which is pretty expensive. It's like $12.50. And then save your tastings for the food items, because the food items are going to generally last longer than like the 3/4 size cup you get of whatever alcoholic drink that you buy.
Now I don't know if this was a mistake on their part, but my beer that I used my tasting on was completely normal sized.
So when I bought I bought beer every time. I bought beer every time, and I did notice at the beer stands that they had a colored cup and a clear cup, and the colored cup was smaller. So I'm figuring that's for the tastings. But what I did do, we did get the Boysenberry Margarita in Fiesta Village. That was substantially smaller than the one that we paid for then at I think it was at Coasters. I think we bought another one, substantially smaller. And I thought, oh, why did I waste the tasting on this tiny little? It was like it's like the small Slurpee cup at 7-Eleven.
Shot of
tequila. Like if you get a Slurpee at 7-Eleven, nobody ever uses that small size cup for anything. So it was that size, and I was just like, oh man, I wasted one of my tastings on this. So my recommendation is, if you're going to buy boozy drinks or probably any drink. Like I wouldn't want to waste one
on
of the tastings
basil lemonade on the agua fresca
or even like a boysenberry punch. Right, just buy it outright because chances are the food is going to go a lot further for you if you use it just for the food, and you're gonna, I think, just be a happier camper with that. I learned quickly after like wasting one of my tastings on the little margarita. I was pretty bummed about that. So that's my advice: drinks versus using the cards for food or drinks.
I think that's actually a sound piece of advice for literally any food event.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you don't want to waste your time on that kind of stuff unless you truly just really, really want it.
Yeah.
I personally don't think that necessarily the amount of money that each one of those tastings is worth going to a drink. If you're going to look at it from a monetary standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to just like a want standpoint. Because you can argue the want, but you can't argue the monetary value of it.
Right. No. So there you go.
If you're going to pay an extra $6 to have 4 times as much beer or margarita or sangria or whatever you have, then it's a better value to just fork out the money for that kind of stuff.
Yep. Be the economical alcoholic.
Yes, of course. You have to think about it. Can't just willy-nilly.
That's right. These are important things. That's right.
So, but let's talk a little bit about the food here. I know there's so much food at this event. It's actually quite intimidating because as opposed to previous years where the food tasting cards just have like some of the things listed, this thing is a gosh dang like map of food. It's the biggest card I've ever gotten at a Knott's food event.
It's huge, and massive. It's double-sided. So
it's double-sided. It's
not only is this thing is like
tasting card.
This thing is like 7.5 inches long, 7.5 inches long, and it's printed on both sides.
Yeah,
so
I'm getting
pretty
a
impressive.
little bit of envy of this card here. To make me feel less of a man.
Moving on, Gabe. So, boy, where do we need Nikki? We need Nikki so bad at moments like this. But
she would literally just scoff and continue.
Yeah.
She wouldn't even say anything.
She wouldn't even pay attention to you.
She wouldn't even give me the time of day to make jokes like that. She would just keep talking.
Yeah. So, but it's a formidable list, and you get this and you're like, holy crap, I can't even begin to choose. This is every fat guy's problem when they go to the grocery store to get ice cream. You stand there for 30 freaking minutes, pacing up and down, looking at all the different flavors, and inevitably we still walk out with cookie dough. But I mean, it takes for freaking ever to choose ice cream right at the store.
Yeah.
So staring at this. And I want to say also the signage within the park also, they had the big stand-up kiosks that had like the printed like maps and the locations. I thought it was all really, really so much better than I've ever seen them do. It was really impressive.
Really well executed.
Yes.
Which is interesting because they had so many different kind of hurdles to get around in order to really make this stuff work.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to create a product that, for all intents and purposes, you could argue is better than pretty much any other event they've done.
This is the best food festival. This is the best I've ever seen at Knott's as far as the food festival goes.
It probably really made them stretch themselves to figure out how to create an experience that is not only capturing the quality of the previous ones pre-COVID,
right,
but at the same time making things easier than the previous ones.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and I think they've exceeded in quality and have successfully made it easy for people, because I think one of the things that I was impressed with, and going back to the tasting card here, like the physical tasting card, in previous years, it was either a hole punch or, actual tabs that you pull off. Yeah. And in order to kind of avoid human contact or to keep social distance, it is now a QR code and they just scan it and you're done with. You don't need to keep track of the actual things. With that being said, I do think it's hard to remember how many times you've got it scanned, especially if you get like 2 things in one trip. Because you can't just count how many stands you go to, because what if you get 2? So it's a little hard to remember.
The nice thing, though, about that is
I do like it.
They will tell you at each register. They can tell you how many scans you have left. And when we were scanning our very last item, they were telling us, okay, you only have one more. There's only one more. And then when we did that one more, they're like, okay, just so you know, your card's empty. But the nice thing about this is, since there are no pull tabs and there's nothing to be punched, all you have to do is tell them, well, I'd like to load it up again, please. And at any register, at any point of sale, they can reload your card, which I thought that was fantastic.
Business standpoint is so smart.
And people need to understand that Knott's has come so far in the past 10 years. I mean, I worked at Knott's years ago, and I have friends.
This post Pirates or pre Pirates?
Oh, post Pirates.
Okay.
And this was in the 90s, and maybe even in the 2000s then. And actually, it was in the 2000s. I've worked at Knott's twice, but I have friends that still work there. And the joke was, dude, I'm not kidding you. While the rest of the world was like completely modern with their ticket scanning and everything, Knott's like administration stuff, dude, some of those guys were still running on like Windows 98 and Windows NT on their computers.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding you. I mean, and
that's insane.
And you just noticed, like in the past, let's say, I don't know what it is, 5 years, Knott's has been able to actually take credit cards at the toll plazas when you park. That's because they didn't have the computers. They didn't have the capability, technically, to even take credit cards at the toll plazas until just a few years ago. And you're like, what? So Knott's has been really slow on the curve getting up to speed. But now that they're utilizing it brilliantly. And I think it is so rad that you can just load up your tasting card anywhere you want at any time during the festival, and they don't make it a pain. They don't make you have to go back to the front of the park and wait in one line to get a new card. No, they can do it anywhere for you, and it's so simple. So huge props and kudos to them.
Yeah, and like I was saying, just from a business standpoint, it's really smart because you could actually have the employees kind of be like, hey, I mean, you're almost down. Do you want to reload? And you could offer it. You look pretty fat and hungry, dude. Are you sure you don't want,
okay, load it up twice. So, you
look like the fat guy from Monty Python with like the buttons popping off of him. Like, I can't eat another bite.
We're gonna load it up 2 more times, and that comes with a complimentary bucket. So,
a taste of Knott's bucket.
Bring me my bucket. So yeah, no, it's great. And I really thought that we were going to reload at least one of our cards and then continue sharing things. But dude, even using one of my tabs for a drink, after 4 of the tastings and taking walks and breaks between, I was full. I was done, actually. So we didn't actually even have to reload one of the cards.
It's a satisfying amount of food.
Yeah.
And especially if you're choosing very specific items, because the 2 items that at least come to mind, the pulled pork tater tots that are at Fryco, and then also the what's the meat sandwich over at Boardwalk Barbecue? It's,
those are 2 things that I had. It's the brisket
sandwich that was there.
It's the brisket. It's the brisket. Yep, it's the brisket sandwich.
Both those are big.
And I had the tots also with the pulled pork. I had both of those actually. Yeah. So it was good. It wasn't. Let's be real. You know what? People can relate to this. Most food festivals, when you go to parks, it's like an expensive Costco sample jump, right? Where you're going through Costco, you're doing the sample jump through the store, and you're like, that was expensive and I'm still hungry, type of thing. Yeah. Whereas this, you are totally satisfied.
Very, very satisfied. But then there's other offerings that are a little bit smaller. Obviously, like boysenberry meatballs, you get 4 of them. And they sprinkle a little bit of chives on top, so it looks a little pretty.
And they're really good. For people that haven't had them, they are great, and you got to do it. Now, for you and me, and obviously you're a big fan of them too, I like them. But since we have been on the media side of things for years and years, that's one of the things that they serve at all the media events. So
they do. So they didn't serve them at last year's Scary Farm.
Okay. So you do get your fill of that, and you're like, well, I want to try something else.
I'm not gonna lie. I got them because I needed them. I needed them in my life. I needed them to make me happy. And guess what? They did.
Got it.
They made me very happy. They filled the void.
The little sidetrack, do they sell that sauce that you can buy and you can come put your own meatballs in them?
Are you talking about like the boysenberry sauce?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just boysenberry barbecue sauce.
Okay. Well, then there you go. You can have it anytime you want, Gabe.
That's true, but I'm not the one. If I'm making it, it's not the same.
It's always better when somebody else makes it. I want
some stranger to roll my meat and cook it and dip it in sauce.
I'm so not taking that bait. Anyway.
But I do have to say, I don't know if it was because it's been a long time since I had them, but the ones that I got tasted so fresh, tasted so good. I really don't know if it was because it's been that long, or if they were just truly that good.
Yeah, probably, you know what? Probably a combination, right? To be honest.
And it was the first thing I got as soon as I walked in. So I wouldn't be surprised if those things were like fresh made, just like minutes prior to me getting there.
Yep.
So
totally. I bet I bet all of the above, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another food item I got that I actually, and at least whenever I go to events like this, you know, I don't like getting things that are things I could easily make it home or get somewhere else.
Okay.
You know, that's not the point of these events. I want to go to a Knott's event and get something that is uniquely Knott's, something I can't really get anywhere else. Like, to me, boysenberry meatballs, even though you find the ingredients and the instructions how to make that in the Knott's cookbook that they have selling right now. It's a process of making it. But, you know, when it comes to the Knott's events, things that truly are unique to the event. So one of the other things I had that I actually really liked was the boysenberry coated chicken strips with a waffle and fire honey.
That's another thing that I had. Dude, you're hitting everything that I had
before. I think you and I talked before you went, and I was like, try these things.
We did.
You ended up listening.
you subliminally slipped it to me. So that was so I did check those out. I thought they were good. Now here's my deal, and it could have just been, you know, the server I had or whatever. Not enough honey on mine, so the entire thing was a little bit dry, and the chicken tenders were really dry. They were like really, really tough. It was it was almost like chicken tender jerkies. and waffles with maybe a little drool of honey mustard on there. Now
a drool that makes it sound way worse.
It was like somebody drooled as they were passing it to me. It was not very much honey at all. So if the chicken tenders had been fresh, if the waffle had been piping hot, and if it had been just like floating in this fire honey, I would have been so much more happy with it. But it was, to me, that was probably one of the biggest misses of the day for me. But again, it wasn't awful. It was just, it could have been so much better.
Yeah, and when it comes to these type of events,
and these are all hit and miss, right? Like
what was that?
These are all hit and miss too, right? So like somebody getting served, you know, before me could have gotten a lot more honey on it, and the chicken tenders might have come out of another batch that weren't over fried or whatever. So
exactly,
yeah, it's all subjective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to hit upon, is that like pretty much like any theme park event, when it comes to Haunt, I went, I had a horrible time because it was crowded. Oh, well, I went, it wasn't crowded, and I had a great time.
Exactly.
And when it comes down to this, a different server, you got it 10 minutes later than I did.
Yeah.
There's a variable that you can't really fight with. It just happens. It's inevitable.
Exactly.
Because I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I had a crap ton of honey, and my chicken tenders were hot and juicy.
Yep.
So
I basically hate you.
Pretty much.
I freaking hate you.
And that's why I liked it so much. It was on one of the things on the top of my list because it was unique, it was spicy, I liked that, and everything was cooked very, very well. Normally I don't like Knott's waffles. They tend to be a little grainy for some reason, but the one that I had wasn't, and I really enjoyed it. But there's variables. So I mean, like, if you're listening to this and saying to yourself, "Oh, I'm 100% going to go get that waffle and the chicken," or "I'm 100% going to go get the pulled pork tater tots," they know that there might be a difference in taste because of those variables, you know, depending on the person cooking and things like that.
I think so with anything fast food, I mean, your mileage can vary.
Exactly.
It's not unique to Knott's. It's anywhere.
Yeah, and that's very, very true. Very, very true. It's literally everywhere. So, but yeah, so that definitely does happen. What are some of the other things that you got to try?
So I did the shrimp salad in Fiesta Village.
That was one I wanted to try, and I didn't get to because the line literally stretched all the way down that long pathway from Silver Bullet to Fiesta Village.
Down the Mission Trail there. So my thing is, that's the only line that we really encountered all day, and it was like 5 minutes. So
that's not bad.
No, so we zipped right through that, and that was good because we had just gotten there. So that was our first stop, and we were just getting our bearings, so it was fine. You know, and so I would say it was good. The shrimp was actually really good. Shrimp is something at parks that is like gets on my radar as far as, this could really kill you, you know, because I've had some bad experiences with shrimp at different events and parks. And so I will say that the shrimp was fantastic in the salad. That said, there's a choice between the salad or the shrimp tacos. I, in hindsight, would 100% say get the tacos, unless you're really.
Yeah, I would have done that.
Again, it's the whole the amount of money you think in your mind you're spending on this tasting card. Do you want 3 shrimp on a bed of mixed baby greens that you would spend probably $3 for in a store, or do you want to have like tacos that you walk away with and go, oh, that was a really good taco full of shrimp? It left us kind of wanting. So I think half of us got the tacos, half of us got the salads, and the ones that had the salads kind of had the sads watching the guys eating the tacos. So that would be my suggestion as far as that goes. The shrimp was great, but I would definitely get it in a taco.
So I'm gonna go for a couple things that I regret getting.
Okay.
A couple things that I really didn't enjoy.
Okay.
So the first one was the Orozcon Leche, which is just basically rice pudding, which I love rice pudding. It's one of my favorite things. The rice was underdone. There was not really any flavor to it. It was a giant portion, but a giant portion of rice that I didn't want.
Yeah, so, that's a shame.
So it was just like we said, it could just have been that batch that wasn't very good. Didn't really get the tender love and care that everything else was getting. Yeah. But that was one thing that I was like, damn, I wasted my whole tasting on something I'm not going to even eat. I took 2 spoonfuls and then I was done.
That's too bad. Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed in that. And then the other one that I was a little bit disappointed in was the mac and cheese pizza, which the mac and cheese is totally fine. It tastes great. Like, it's on a pizza. Mm-hmm. Dope. Mm-hmm. But it's just a lot of bread for not that much toppings going on a pizza. Yeah, especially with the type of crust that they're using, that they normally use. It just didn't feel like it was comparable to what was on the pizza. So I felt like you're not getting enough for every bite. You're getting mostly bread in every single bite than anything else.
Got it. Yeah, that was on my radar, but and that was going to probably be one of the things that we would try if we reloaded the cards, but we were full, so we just did not get to do that.
Yeah, and of course I got a Boysenberry beer. Have to do that. For me, that was like an essential thing that I just needed in my life at that moment.
But this isn't a disappointment, though. This is a good thing.
No, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Boysenberry beer for me is amazing.
I had a couple of them, and they were great.
So good.
Yeah, I had a couple, and they were awesome.
I was so sad because they didn't have the Boysenberry cider, which I love doing half Boysenberry cider, half Boysenberry beer for a Boysenberry bite.
I think I tried that, and I think I tried the cider maybe sometime last year during Boysenberry Festival or something, and in my mind I don't think that I liked the Boysenberry cider.
It's sweet. It's very
I like sweet. Now see, I like girly sweet. I love like hard apple drinks and stuff like that. So maybe I didn't have the cider. Maybe I had the bite, and the bite was just like, I'd rather just have one or the other. And so that's what I didn't like. I tried the bite, and I didn't like that, I think. But I definitely would try the cider, but I would just buy that outright.
So I like the beer because of its bitterness. I think the cider is a little too sweet. So for me, when you mix the two, the bitterness kind of comes down. Sure. It brings in a little bit of sweetness. And for me, when they're mixed, it almost doesn't taste like a beer or a cider. It just tastes like something else entirely. Yeah. And almost doesn't feel like you're drinking alcohol. So it makes it like much more palatable for people who don't necessarily like one or the other. Yeah. And it just is like, for me, it's like one of those things like on a hot summer day, having a Boysenberry bite or even just a Boysenberry beer is phenomenal. So we're on different sides of the spectrum on that one.
I think that the next step for them to do at the next taste is if they ever serve hard alcohol again in the park, they could have one called the Naughty Walter and have it be a gin Boysenberry drink.
Gross.
Dude, go to hell. It's a good idea. It's fantastic. That would be perfect for the Old West.
The idea is bad. I'm just not a gin guy.
That would be perfect for the Old West. Then you haven't had the right gin. Come on, man.
Maybe that's true. I just can't get into gin. I've had like one gin drink that I've actually.
No, we're gonna go have cool gin drinks when this is all over.
Why is it gonna be like sapphire blue gin?
No, but that's Empress. The Empress gin is purple and it's beautiful. They have it at the Cauldron. Go there now. It's called Empress gin. Laura has it at the Cauldron. Go support the Cauldron.
Of course.
But no, dude, gin is probably one of the widest ranging tastes as far as alcohol goes. Welcome to the alcohol hour. So anywhere from floral to fruit hints and tastes in that. So, dude, there is such a huge wide swath. I think that I really think that somebody could pull off a pretty cool boysenberry gin drink, and it would actually be very refreshing.
Bob into this conversation because I know he loves gin.
He could. He might have some thoughts.
He'll make us a couple Gertinis.
There you go.
And knock our socks off.
Love it.
But other than that, what other kind of foods did you end up having?
We covered it. We had the brisket sandwich, which was really good.
Yeah.
Brisket sandwich was really good. I loved that it had a good kick to it. It had that aioli sauce. It had a really nice kick.
Yes.
Because you and I, we like our spicy food. So I do like true. That. That was really good.
And they had the coleslaw in it too, which really balanced out that flavor profile of the entire sandwich. Because like you said, that spicy, you kind of have the sweetness of the barbecue and the savoriness of the meat. And then you had that coleslaw right in the middle that cuts through everything.
Yeah, it was. So that was actually really good. That might have been our favorite. I think that was our favorite. Of collectively of the outing, but then we've already talked about it. I had the pulled pork tater tots, and that was just what was advertised: pulled pork tater tots, and so it was good. But the funny thing is, so about a month and a half ago, I got an air fryer. So like tater.
Oh, so did we,
dude. So like tater tots has been in the rotation like every week. So I was like, so I'm gonna go have more tater tots. Great, yay, type of thing. But the pulled pork was really good. It was fine. That was actually a really good. That was a good get on the tasting card. So we did that. Like I said, I had the shrimp salad. I would get the shrimp tacos, and you're good. You'd be set. And that said, then I would say that also my disappointment. I had the two. Well, if my chicken tenders had been chewy and tasty and good instead of like leather straps, then that would have been great. And if there had been more than a drool of the honey mustard on it, it would have been awesome.
Stop describing it as a drool. It's disgusting.
Well, it was kind of disgusting, and I felt kind of disgusted that I had wasted my teeth. Anyway, but no, but I mean, again.
Are you sure it wasn't drool? Are you sure?
It might have been. They might have been like, you know what? The server must have been like, I know that guy. I'm going to get him back for canceling MIDSUMMER. So, it might have been a really disgruntled Halloween fan. And enjoy this taste of bastard. So anyway, but no, I am sure. Here's your disclaimer. I'm sure that no Knott's employees do that. Knott's does not condone that. They're very clean. They're awesome. Anyway, so my one true regret though was we did use the tasting card, and we got Nova or actually we both got it. I think we both got the margarita, the boysenberry margarita. Which
it just wasn't big.
Dude, for years I've been saying you need to have a boysenberry margarita in Fiesta Village during your Boysenberry Festival. So finally, when this came online, I was like, this is amazing. Well, we got it, and it was totally not amazing. It almost tasted, dude, it almost tasted like a grape or root beer bottle cap candy. Ew. and you couldn't taste any boysenberry. In fact, we all agreed it tasted like soda, like Coke almost. It was like, ew. Why does it taste like Coke instead of like boysenberry? And
that doesn't make sense.
And dude, if there was any tequila in that thing, I would be just so surprised because we couldn't taste anything. And
I mean, I feel like that sweetness of that boysenberry or whatever fruit juice is going to be in there is probably going to overpower it.
Usually you can taste, though, on the back end. On the back end, you can usually taste a tequila at the end, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Now, that said, we could taste the tequila. So then later on, like I said, I did buy a full-size version of that for Nova at it was either at Boardwalk. It was at Boardwalk Barbecue. No, it was at Coasters. We got it at Coasters, and you could actually taste the tequila in that one. But again, didn't really taste like boysenberry. So I would say,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are these drinks pre-mixed, or are they mixing it for you?
They're pre-mixed. They come out of a machine.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess that. Or is it like a slushy margarita?
Yeah. It's like having a Slurpee.
Okay, Gotcha. I'm gonna have to say that somebody probably just messed up a batch and just messed up the equal parts of the drink itself for whatever one that you got.
Oh, I'm gonna say that somebody at Cedar Point decided that you're gonna put the absolute minimum amount of alcohol in this, so it doesn't cost them very much to do, and you're gonna charge the maximum that they can for this drink. That's probably what happened. That's usually the case at all theme parks. So. Yeah. Let's just get that out there. So it's definitely not like having a drink on Fremont Street. I'll tell you that.
No, not at all. It's not the same.
So
no one's coming up and being like, "Do you want a drink?"
Yeah. So I would say avoid, unless you just want a slushie because it's cool. I would just say, I would rather get something like a boysenberry beer or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I got, and I did not regret it.
Oh, I got for me. Yeah, personally. I got several, and I love the boysenberry beer is great.
Yeah. The one of the other things that I got, and actually probably one of the last things that I got that I thoroughly enjoyed, and actually the deputy mayor of Calico told me to go try it, and it was the boysenberry pie bites over in Ghost Town, and those were phenomenal.
Okay,
they were so good.
So I'm guessing they're just what they sound like. They're little pieces of boysenberry pie.
Yes, so a little piece of boysenberry pie deep fried in a coating.
There you go. So there's the difference. So it's not just pieces of pie. It's deep fried pie. Okay. I got it.
So when you bite it open, everything's just mushy and gushy and hot, and the crust stays together, so you get that texture difference between the mushy berries, and you get the texture difference with that crust.
Yeah.
The only one thing that I had hoped for, and it really wasn't it, was that coating on the outside wasn't crispy. It was a little chewy, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, I hear you. That does sound good, though.
Yeah, and I sat off in the corner in Ghost Town and just had my bottle of water and just completely enjoyed it. So that was like a very good, nice cap off on literally everything that I ate for that day.
That's nice.
Was a lot.
Now, I know that Gary and Kevin, they got desserts. I'm not, it's weird. I'm not a big dessert guy. So, when I want sweets, I go monster on sweets. But most of the time when I'm eating dinner somewhere, or even like a buffet somewhere, which is rare because buffets are just icky in general. But if I'm in Vegas and I'm at a buffet or whatever, for whatever reason, I usually don't even get dessert. I might get carrot cake,
really?
But
really?
I would rather just have the good stuff and then worry about having like sweet drinks later or whatever. I'm just not really I'm not really a dessert guy. But the other guys in our group got dessert and it all looked good. And I know that Nova had some of their dessert, and I just didn't have any of it.
Yeah, well, you missed out, man. It was delicious.
Knott's does do. When I go like at the holiday time and all that, we do get the sweets, and Knott's does a great job when it comes to desserts, obviously. So, and of course, through the years, we've done all the different iterations of their outrageous desserts that they come up with for these events, and so nobody can touch them when it comes to that stuff. But I just am not a huge dessert guy, so I did not partake this time around.
It is what it is, sir.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yes.
But I feel like we kind of touched upon most of the things that you and I tried. And to give you the audience a little bit of a sense of the other options you can get, I'm going to read off some of these things that are options at different places around the park. So you could do, like we said, the boysenberry all-beef meatballs, boysenberry smoothie, boysenberry breaded chicken tenders with waffle and fire honey, watermelon lemonade. Then we have the tater tots that we talked about. But you could also, if you don't eat meat, you could actually get it replaced with faux barbecue pulled pork, which I'm assuming is it's jackfruit. So it's jackfruit with the barbecue sauce mixed in.
Now, as somebody that doesn't do the whole vegetarian or vegan thing, having anything that is labeled faux pulled pork is, dude, that's what the faux to me. That is just like, that sounds so unappealing, dude. Why wouldn't you just say tater? Why wouldn't you just say like tater tots with spiced, jackfruit? Or, something. Why would you? To me, the whole idea of being vegan or vegetarian and not eating meat is
just not appetizing.
If you're gonna go down that road, and that's fine. I know plenty of people that do that. Hi, David and Brittany. It's just a matter of like, call it what it is. Don't say it's fake pig meat. That sounds so gross to me. That's my tangent. Anyway, continue, Gabe.
You're not totally wrong. You're not totally wrong. You could do strawberry rhubarb crisps with whipped cream, And then you could also do funnel cake fries with strawberry dipping sauce.
Okay.
See, Louisiana-style mild pork and beef sausage on a hoagie bun. Now, Jonathan Green got this, and he posted it. It just looked like a hot dog in a bun.
Okay.
It didn't look like anything totally special.
Okay.
So
I saw that, dude. I eyeballed that because I am a sucker when it comes to having like giant hot dogs or smoked sausage or whatever at parks or the fair. Dude, I'm all in. I love that.
So Rick's eyeballing wieners.
Much, dude. Yeah, sausage in my face all day, all night. Anyway, during the regular operation, when we have the food pass for Knott's, dude. How can you not get that huge sausage over by the rapids, right? So
it's good,
dude. Right? I'm all about that. So I did see that. But we didn't get to it.
They also have corn on the cob with boysenberry butter, mayo, and cotijas cheese, which is essentially elote, almost elote.
So I'm not an elote guy.
I always like.
I'm not an elote guy because I do not like. I don't like mayonnaise. So that makes sense. Having corn in the cob dipped in mayonnaise, dude, that is so not my jam. Not my jam.
It's not, Rick, it's not jam. It's mayo.
I would rather it be jam. Dump that, dip that in spicy. Oh, there you go. Use corn on the cob and slather it with spicy boysenberry jelly.
Ooh,
that's what we're talking about right there, brother.
That sounds good.
That's what I'm talking about. You get that butter, you get that salty sweet going, and the pop of the corn, dude. That's what we're talking about.
Next time we hang out, let's just make that ourselves.
Yes, please.
We'll put it on the barbecue.
Hells yeah, let's do it.
So there's also boysenberry basil lemonade, Mrs. Knott's famous chicken slider with house aioli served with crinkle chips and beer cheese dip, grilled portobello mushroom sandwich with onion strings and arugula. See, they don't say faux steak portobello
exactly.
Mushroom. They just call it a portobello mushroom.
They don't call it you wish this was a burger. So,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
No. I get it. And I'm not a mushroom guy, so portobello, nope. To me, but hey, if that's your jam, and I know it is, a lot of people love that portobello stuff, go for it. That sounds good.
So we're coming up to one here that I forgot that I got because I'm pretty sure I wiped it from my memory because I was that disappointed. And it was the Hatch chili mac and cheese, which from a name standpoint, hell yeah, I'm all about that. Hatch chili is fantastic. We're in Hatch chili season. It's phenomenal. But this had no spice. I didn't see any Hatch chili in it. And it just wasn't good quality mac and cheese, in my opinion. I was just overall very disappointed.
Are you sure you didn't get the faux Hatch chili?
Oh, I must have gotten the faux Hatch chili mac and cheese. I must have gotten that.
Oof. Well, that's a shame. Dude, that sucks. That's a shame.
Yeah, because Hatch chili is fantastic. Mac and cheese is fantastic. Mixing those two things together is like my thing. But it just wasn't up to par for my taste.
I think
I'm sure there's other people that would like it, and I'm sure they're trying to gauge that spicy level, so it's generally appealing to most people because I have a pretty high tolerance when it comes to spicy. So I will put that out there that maybe that has a little bit to do with not tasting the spice. But overall, I just was a little disappointed.
I think that I think that the when you have a tasting card situation, I think that it's so much easier to like get the fat sads when you get something that isn't good, as opposed
you wasted a taste
as opposed to hell, so what? It was $6. I'll just never get that again. On to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But when you only have like a finite amount of punches or tabs or whatever, you're kind of like, oh, I lost a turn, type of thing. So I think it like completely exacerbates the situation when you're by the, you have this mental confine of I've only got 5 shots, So I think that I think that amplifies the disappointment.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I felt when I got it. Just like, gosh dang it, really? I wasted one on this?
Yeah.
This?
I hear it. Yeah.
I'd rather get a double of something else.
Exactly.
So, and then one of these that I was actually kind of surprised was an offering was an acai bowl with granola and fruit. Not something that I would have ever expected to be on a tasting card for a Knott's food event.
Well, they're going to keep their regulars regular.
True.
What else are you going to say about that? Here's a bowl of granola.
There really isn't much.
It's good for you.
About it.
It'll clean you out in the morning. I mean, what is
clean you out after eating everything?
Yeah. What are they supposed to say? But okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if granola is your thing, then do it.
Yeah. Peaches and cream popping boba.
Okay.
White bean and chicken chili on jasmine rice with a boysenberry cornbread muffin. See, and then they kind of start to repeat because a lot of them are the same. Oh, the one thing I didn't try that I'm really mad that I didn't try because I've seen a lot of people talk fantastic things about it was the blue velvet lemon cookie witch with vanilla hand scooped ice cream.
Ooh, that does sound good. That sounds good. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. I know Sean and Carmel of Parks and Cons got that, and I'm just absolutely jealous.
Yeah.
They posted this glorious photo of it.
That's awesome.
So, and then going into Fiesta Village, you can get carnitas fries, which, I feel like La Papa Loca usually has those kind of things.
Right.
So it's not totally outside of the realm of what you could probably get on a normal day.
Right.
And then the shrimp Southwest salad and cilantro lime dressing or the shrimp tacos.
Yeah. Go with the tacos.
Margarita,
go with the tacos.
Modelo.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So that kind of completes the card. I mean, we talked about a lot of different things here. And remember that a lot of these things do repeat. So I skipped a lot of these here.
Yeah.
I went from Ghost Town to Boardwalk to Fiesta Village. And a lot of those have similar tasting. So make sure that when you do end up going, you look at what offerings are where so you can kind of plan out your day and figure out what stands you want to go to. And then if you have to make an audible and go somewhere else, just know that there's other locations that have those, and if there's a long line you don't feel comfortable, go check out another location. There's always bound to be something that's free enough for you to feel comfortable and go.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, overall, I felt like Taste Knott's was probably one of the best events I've gone to in a really long time. Just from the ease to the limited capacity to the quality of food for the price, and you're getting an experience at Knott's, even though there's no shows and rides. I'm not missing those things at all. But being in that environment and getting to hear the music and getting to hear the wind come through Ghost Town or even seeing the characters up on the buildings, for me was such an emotional experience that it made up for having not being able to go on rides. Yeah. It was that much of a kind of homecoming experience.
Yeah, it was interesting. I did have several people say to me, "Oh, it's so depressing and weird how weird is it to be here and not hear any of the rides working or anything." But looking back on my own experience with Knott's, I've been there a lot when things aren't running and operating. So to me, it was like, well, it's just another theme park not operating. So it was kind of normal for me because I've been behind the scenes so much at different theme parks here. When things aren't operating, it just kind of like, it doesn't trip me out or anything like that. But I could see for somebody that's never been into a park when it's, shut down, that it is kind of a unique and interesting experience. I did think it was great that they had the faux grass that they had set down in front of the Calico stage and the big LED wall of Crazy Kirk playing up there.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. I thought that was really, really a great use of that space. But it really struck me at that point when we were walking through and taking a lot of pictures of this stuff and just looking at how everything was operating, under the circumstances. It also made me really depressed. It made me very depressed. And when I posted my Instagram post about it, I just said it just makes it it's impossible not to step back and think about how broken the world is right now and how broken our theme parks are. And we will get through this, obviously, but God, 2020 has just taken without much given. And it made me actually, in a way, very, very depressed. That just to see that we are so far away from anything that's going to resemble normal again.
Yeah.
That
totally.
And I don't mean to bring it down here, but I do remember walking through the park going, oh, it's beautiful, the lights are on, it's great. But then at the second breath of that was, oh man, everything is so broken. How the hell do we even find our way back from this? And so, huge props and huge kudos to everybody at Knott's Berry Farm for pulling together and really pulling off under the circumstances, or not even under the circumstances. If we didn't have COVID, if we didn't know what that was, I would say that this is the best tasting event I've ever been to at Knott's.
Agreed.
Totally
agree with that.
And here's the nice bridge. I'm going to serve it to you on a silver platter. I can imagine that this is the template for events that they're going to have like this going forward.
Well, I definitely think that because of the success of Taste of Calico, leading into the improvements and the changes that were implemented for Taste of Knott's, and not only seeing success, but incredible success in the model and in the execution, we're bound to have something for Haunt. It's going to happen. You know, this event, Taste of Knott's, ends right when Haunt should have started.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a brainless decision, and I'm sure there are conversations and things being planned as we speak about bringing a, quote, Taste of Haunt, Taste of Scary Farm style event to the park, just like Taste of Knott's. And if they're bringing all of the things that they used operations-wise for Taste of Knott's, the Taste of Scary Farm, and Taste of Haunt, theoretically, if that were to happen, which it probably is, then I can't imagine that event not being a success as well. Now, I think it would be really cool if that event just takes literally all the food they had planned for Haunt, which they always, for every event, they always have phenomenal food.
Right.
Unique and themed food for those events. Just take everything you had planned, make it a tasting event, and the one thing I hope they would do, but I doubt they would do it, is bring the pecan scares back. Bring a little bit of that sense of Haunt, not just from lighting and music and fog, but from scares too that are socially distant, and bring it back to old school Scary Farm when the pecans used to have scares in them.
Yeah, I think, and obviously that's a subject that's near and dear to both of us, and certainly a lot of fans that are listening. I can't imagine, and I don't know. I'm not in the know anymore with that stuff, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't be looking at how they're going to do this through Haunt, as well as Christmas season. Frankly, I think that's a stupendous opportunity for them to do the holidays also like this, right? So I would imagine I could easily see going into the entire park having I was saying fog, and I was thinking fog in the park, and it came out fark. So I can imagine going into the fark and seeing the fog rolling through the different areas, especially Ghost Town. I could see some of our favorite Ghost Town characters lurking along the balconies in Ghost Town, looking down at people. I could see maybe a small stage show or something, whatever that might be. I could definitely see that, and of course hear the spooky music and all the soundtracks. And I really think that they could pull off a season of Halloween type of feel at Knott's without getting into like the big shows or any of the mazes or things like that. I think they could do that and probably will do that. I can't imagine that Ken and the team aren't looking at how they can do that.
Exactly.
And then Christmas time, right? You can still have a tree lighting ceremony with few people on stage as people are dining in Calico Square or whatever, being a part. And you know what I can also see, and I would love for Knott's to really look at this too, since Knott's has really weird hours. Like during the winter, sometimes they close like at 6, like early. When you're dude, I don't want to go home yet. I can imagine that Knott's might even be thinking about how would you do a 4 or 5 hour after closing event that's kind of like a taste of, right? Where you buy your special ticket and you go in there and you it's the same thing. That way, even when it resumes to normal park operations and everybody in freaking Southern California returns to Knott's, you could still pull off these limited events where you figure, okay, we need to sell 2,000 tickets a night to make profit on this. Dude, during the off season, offer that stuff, and people will come in droves.
Exactly.
To do that. People like me who can't stand crowds, and people like me who prefer to come out at night anyway because it's not hotter than hell during the day or sunny or whatever. Dude, I think that this really kind of opens the opportunities to this type of event further down the line, even more than just doing a Scary Farm themed one or a Christmas themed one. I could see them doing this like after hours and making some really nice events.
Almost like what Disney does with their events. Exclusive after hours events.
Oh, sure.
Walt Disney World
totally
does that.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, I would assume that they would be looking at that kind of a thing, and I think it would be crazy for them not to, especially with the success of these last two events. When things do get back to normal, it's a great way to make money, and especially people like us, limited capacity, food, drink.
Yeah, totally.
I'm all in.
There's
no question.
Yep.
So, I like you said, I think that they're going to be looking at that kind of stuff, and I'm excited about the prospect of taking the model of Taste of Knott's and putting it into other events and other seasons of Knott's, even outside of COVID. I think that they have a tremendous success on their hands when it comes to the food and the drink, but even the protocols and rules and regulations they've implemented in order to keep people safe, the amount of seating, the amount of precautions that are being taken all around. I honestly can't be more positive about the experience that I had at Knott's, because I was so ready to leave, but then as soon as I got there, I was not ready to leave.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It was great. Like I said, we spent about 5 hours there. Never once had the heebie-jeebies about anything. And luckily we went between the two heat waves that we've recently had, and so our I don't think it even broke 80 the day that we were there. So
dude, it was hot as hell.
Yeah,
it was 90 something when I was there, 98 or something. Crazy.
That's a big negatory for me. I just don't do theme parks when it's hot during the summer. So
not fun.
It was. And
you also wear all black.
Yeah, well, it was perfect. It was perfect for us, though, to do that.
That's good.
And I would do it again. I mean, I've seen what they can do now. I've seen it. And like I said, going forward, I'm all in. I would absolutely do whatever taste of they have next. I think it would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, question. Did you also go over to Cordy's Corner and drool over the incredible Knott's Berry Tales Return to the Farm sign?
We did. We went over and looked at that. We also caught a glimpse of the new LED screen on front of the Good Time Theater, the Charles Schultz Theater. They've redone the marquee there. It's all digital now. That looks good. And also, if you are standing next to the merchandise shop there that's kind of right by the Starbucks there, you can also see, which you can't really see because they have the barricades up, so it's hard to see, but they've actually done a really great old-time printed like mural logo type thing on the brick wall above the arcade or whatever that you can see from the queue of Berry Tales. It's the factory is what it is. And that's
which they made that whole building feel like
that's really cool though, that the detailing is really nice. So it's interesting to see that this this new ride that's been sitting there ready to go or whatever. I think it's going to be just another reason to go to Knott's when it reopens. And it was also another reminder of how broken everything is right now, that every park in Southern California has a new attraction that most people haven't experienced or haven't opened yet. And so we got a ways to go, but when things do open, there's got to be new things to ride, to experience, to eat, and we will get there. We will get there together.
Yeah. And I think everybody's just waiting for that time when Universal opens its doors and Disneyland opens its doors once again, and little signs of hope do pop up every now and again that kind of keep us going, especially the theme park nerds like us keep us going. And these events like Knott's, the Taste of Knott's, and even the events that SeaWorld now is holding are really keeping us looking at the silver lining of the current situation that we're in, as opposed to all the negatives that we could be focusing on, which there are a lot, to be fairly honest. But, these kinds of events and the kind of people that are involved in these kind of events help us look to the good in life right now when there isn't that much.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm thankful.
I'm thankful. One thing I do want to say before I forget about it also is, other than food, there is merchandise, to buy at Knott's now. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, so in a limited run, they did add a new edition, a 100th anniversary edition of Knott's Preserved is now on sale at Knott's. And
very cool.
If you aren't familiar with what it is the quintessential history book on Knott's Berry Farm. It was done by Chris Merritt and Eric Linksweiler, who are two of the most amazing Knott's historians. They're both incredible. They're walking encyclopedias, really, of Knott's Berry Farm, of its history. And so if you don't have this, or you have an older version of this book, it's time to update that sucker and pick it up at Knott's. It's available in the California marketplace, in the shops there. there as well as in the park too. I'm sure I got it in the marketplace on the way out. But
they do have it in the park because I did see it and I saw that it was the special 100th year anniversary edition, which I own that book. I don't own the 100th anniversary edition, but I own that book, and it is an incredible book filled with so many pieces of information that you probably would never have known. There
are now 3 iterations of it. I believe I have all 3 of them now. So it's definitely, if you don't have it and you're a Knott's fan, this is the missing piece of your collection that you definitely need to get.
Exactly. And when it comes to other pieces of merch, they actually have a Taste of Knott's t-shirt and pin. You can actually get that combo pack, and you can't buy them separately, which is really weird, but I could understand why, because for a shirt and a pin, it's only $16.
Oh, that's great.
Which is a phenomenal deal, because normally t-shirts cost $25, almost $30 at times.
Yeah, that's great.
So if you're going to get a pin and a shirt for $16, why the hell not?
Yeah.
And I'm actually wearing mine as we speak. It's very comfortable.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so really like that Knott's focuses on the merchandising opportunities, that kind of stuff, for like these special little pins and shirts and stuff for their different events, because you could take home a piece of the event with you other than, your lanyard and things like that. So,
yeah.
And obviously, since we're talking about 100th anniversary, they're releasing pins every 2 weeks or so. They're having different pin releases for the 100th anniversary. They're going to release 100 pins. So really exciting. So keep your eyes peeled towards the Knott's Berry Farm social media pages so you can see when they post a new pin. And usually when they post it, it's going to go on sale the next day.
Those pins are pretty cool. I like some of those designs.
Very cool.
I'm not a huge pin collector at all, really, and I live in Pasadena, so I'm not terribly close to the park, especially when there's normal traffic on the freeways. So I'm one of those guys that's really, really hopeful that when all is said and done, they're going to have a limited edition, like all the pins, in a giant frame or whatever that they sell as a giant set. I will be the guy that takes advantage of that, as opposed to trying to go get these pins that get sold out by noon, when they drop. So fingers crossed that eventually the Knott's Berry Farm 100th anniversary pin set will grace one of my walls somewhere. I think that's what I'm hoping for.
That would be a really cool offering. Honestly, when it comes to the pins, I'm not going to be spending $10 on a pin. That's $1,000 on pins. That's just not going to happen for me, and I'm picking and choosing which ones I like.
Right.
So obviously there's a few that I'm going to, let go because I don't really care. Then there's some that I must have. Like the last 2 that have come out, I believe, are going to be a Camp Snoopy pin, which is, the Snoopy with all the little Woodstock birds on the canoe boat tipping forward and backwards, just like they have at the entrance of Camp Snoopy. They also just came out with a Catawampus pin as well. So those 2 are must grab for me. But in the past, they released the Volcano Devil pin. They've released a Haunted Shack pin. They've released a lot of Berry Tales pins. They've released, general 100th anniversary pie tin, something from Knott's history throughout the years, which is kind of cool. So I do have a handful of them, but, I'm really focusing on the ones that I really like, because it'll get really overwhelming very quickly.
The historical stuff is great. I'm always a sucker for that. And I did last year at it wasn't at MIDSUMMER. It was somewhere else where we were, and I forget where. We were at some convention, and the head of Knott's merchandise was there. And I said, if you want to make the fans go batshit crazy, dude, produce really cool, high-quality sculpture resin pieces of the Catawampus. I said people would go insane for a really cool sculpted little miniature Catawampus. And so I'm a sucker. Anytime it's old theme park stuff like that, it's like, take my money. Just take my money, please. Right?
Completely agree. I really like the old school stuff that plays into the history of the parks, the things that make, and let's focus on Knott's here, things that make Knott's unique and different.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's really a lot of the things they've been focusing on, which is really nice. And not to diverge into a tangent too much, but Knott's is in the last maybe 6 or 7 years have really been focusing on what makes them different and unique and special. And I think that in turn makes the park that much better.
Yeah.
And it touches every aspect of the experience when it comes to merchandise, food, entertainment, literally everything, events. Focusing on what makes you unique and special really makes for a much better experience.
Yep.
So
totally.
I'm really glad that they're really loving the Knott's history part of Knott's now.
Yep, I love it. Like they have the Department 56, right? That has the Not Scary Farm sign. Dude, some of those pieces are really big and really expensive, but who wouldn't want the miniature volcano rumbling with smoke coming out of the top of it with the little devil cranking it, right?
Exactly.
Would that be like
exactly.
I would be like, here's the credit card, go, go, go. People love that kind of thing.
Like a miniature version of the Ghost Town sign.
Or the original berry stand.
That too.
Dude,
just
it's endless.
Little options.
It's endless.
They honestly
the original Berry Tales vehicle. How cool would that be?
That'd be amazing.
You have that one. It comes in the set. It comes in the set. That one with the Kingdom of the Dinosaurs. You have those 2 ride vehicles in a set.
That'd be incredible,
right?
And
done.
Then you have ride vehicle like things now. Then you could do wacky soapbox derby, or you could do coasters. You could do boomerang. You could do a lot of stuff.
Done.
I would want a Huff and Puff. I would need a Huff and Puff. Just being honest.
That is like if you die and go to hell, you spend eternity doing the Huff and Puff. To me, I look at that and go, maybe as a kid I would have liked that, but right now that looks like a torture device for me. But dude, kids go
Huff and Puff going up and down the stairs, so I don't need to do that.
Dude, kids go mental for that. So no, I get it. Yeah,
I've seen kids on that trying to do it as fast as they can, veins popping from their necks.
Yeah, no, not my style.
There was one time I was sitting there after passing by the horrible horns of the trucks coming from Fiesta Village into Camp Snoopy, and I just saw one kid in the middle of the Huff and Puff just like, I quit, I'm done.
Yeah.
And just is like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yep.
And all the other kids just in their like really stressful timing, really slowly, then wham, right behind them.
That would be
push that kid into station.
That would be me 40 years ago. Yep, done. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, anyway, I think we've covered most of the stuff of this event, and coming back to Knott's after such a long time waiting to just step back into a theme park again, and it being almost like a religious experience, and just being so happy to have that again, and let alone the fact that it's a world-class experience and event that they've put on.
Right.
So thank you so much for joining us today and talking about the experiences that we had here at Knott's, at Taste of Knott's. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great escape for an hour and a half or so from the realities of life right now. So thank you for having me.
Of course. And to be fairly honest, it's been a long time since I've seen you, and we usually see each other quite often because of the theme park world.
Yeah,
we bump shoulders quite often and see each other at different events all the time.
Yep.
But now, because none of that is happening, all of my theme park friends I haven't seen in a really long time. So even being able to sit here and talk for an hour and a half about the things that both you and I love that much brings a little bit of joy into my life, so that the horrors of the facts of the real world kind of go to the background for a little bit of time.
Yep.
So I really, really do enjoy that. But before I let you go, the one thing I do want to talk to you about is some of the stuff that Midsummer Scream is doing currently in helping the haunt community get over its tears and crying when it comes to the cancellation of different events. Because you guys have been doing a lot of live streaming lately.
We have been. We've been trying, and there's certainly more to come of that. I don't need to tell anybody listening that the Halloween and the haunt community here in Southern California is decimated this year. And so there are different companies and different groups that are stepping up to try and save Halloween and do what they can to bring some joy, and sense of normalcy, whatever that is anymore, to the fans and to the community here in Southern California. And since we have a fairly large platform with Midsummer Stream, we do
Midsummer Stream.
I blew it right as I'm talking to you, like my AirPods that I'm listening to, they keep making this like sad noise. It goes doo 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 doo, and I keep thinking, oh my God, something is dying. And so, yeah, I completely got derailed when I said Midsummer Scream. I swear to God, I know what my event's called. So, but you have gone to one ear now, which tells me that the shutdown is imminent. But we're live streaming different things and interviews and discussions with haunt producers and creators. Just follow our social media. It's Midsummer Scream on all platforms. And we do broadcast on our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Just keep an eye on the platforms because we will be doing a lot more of that as we enter the crux of the Halloween season. And there is stuff that's going on. And I do want to take a second and just a huge shout out to all the home haunts from Helser to Reign of Terror out at Thousand Oaks. They're not a home haunt, but they're pro haunt. To Diana and her crew at Rotten Apple, to the LA Haunted Hayride, and of course Orange County, the Urban Legends. Everybody that is doing something out there, folks, keep in mind that all of this is done with your safety and the safety of the community at heart, and they're not going to be doing anything that's going to put anybody in a weird situation. And give them major props because they're out there right now when it's almost 120 degrees doing construction and busting their asses to really try to give this community something to look forward to and enjoy for the Halloween season. I see and I hear a lot of people out there kind of like bad-mouthing haunters and saying, well, you're just in it for you. You don't worry, you're not worried about the safety of people coming to your event. That is the farthest thing from the truth. That is not what this community is. And any haunter that I know that's doing something absolutely is taking the care of their teams and their fans and this community to heart. So bond together, support where you can support. And if you don't feel comfortable going, don't badmouth, stay home. Don't go. I mean, it's that simple. But really, thank you to all the haunters that are right now hard at work creating something for the rest of us to enjoy this Halloween season.
Exactly. And something that Nikki and I both said on the last episode, and it rings true in this episode, is that whenever you go to something, it's always a calculated risk. You have to make sure that what you're going to is worth risking safety for at this point, just because that's the way the world works at this point. So, for both you and I, there's a calculated risk in going into Knott's Berry Farm, but, for us, it made sense.
Right.
And when it comes to haunts, it's a calculated risk of going to a haunt. If somebody is opening a haunt, obviously they're going to make sure that people are going to be safe. So I would hope that these different haunts are taking care and making sure that their haunts are safe for people to experience and go have fun at. But it also is up to everybody to make sure that they're following the rules and ensuring that they're playing their part in making sure everyone else is safe as well. So that's also very, very, very important.
Totally. And I can tell you that anything that we cover on Midsummer Scream, we would not be endorsing it and covering it like that if we didn't feel that people were taking safety as the number one concern. So we're just not about that. And literally, I don't know of one haunt or haunter here that I deal with on a regular basis. I don't know anyone that is like going into it going, well, when people get sick, they get sick. Everybody is obviously painfully aware of what's going on, and they are taking that 120% to heart. But again, if you don't feel comfortable, stay home. Don't badger haunts. That's the last thing we need at this point. Don't badger haunts. And if you're going to badger haunts, then I hope you're spending the same amount of time badgering any store or any drive-through that you go through, because we're trying to open. We're trying to live as normally as we can. So, you're probably more at risk walking through Target buying things as you are going to a home haunt and standing there for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, looking at, the display in the front yard.
And that's the reason why we went to Knott's.
Exactly.
Was because I felt like I bumped into more people at Target in an enclosed space than I did at Knott's in an open air space.
Dude, going to Target, there are many times that my skin is just crawling because there's so many people and we're so close.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's good to make sure that we have everything in perspective and focus on a lot of the positives here and making sure that we're aware of what these people are doing to ensure safety.
Nothing but
because I don't think anybody's going into this.
Nothing but positivity.
No one's going into this with just a willy-nilly attitude of, oh, we're going to open up so we can make money. I don't think that's what anyone's thinking, like you said. So, but I'm also thankful that Midsummer Scream's around so that they can promote the different safe haunts that are around and also help to bring the community together because, Midsummer Scream, you, David, Claire, Gary, all care so much about the haunt community, the Halloween community, and want to bring everybody together. And it really makes sense to have people who have such a love for this season and for all the different experiences of the season to help bring everyone together into one spot, even if it's a virtual spot and we don't have a physical location for Midsummer Scream. You're able to bring people together and bring a light of hope to people who are having a rough time, because I guarantee you that even if it may seem small to some, these experiences in live streams are probably huge to others. So it's really nice to have that ability to come together as a community virtually and experience and talk about haunts and hear the new exciting offerings. So huge shout out to you guys for being able to bring everyone together for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. And just on behalf of the entire team, know beyond the shadow of a doubt that we miss the hell out of you guys, and we miss the community. And you know what? We are not above all this. We are right there in the trenches and having the rough times and difficulties that everyone else is. And so we love everybody. We miss our community, and God, we can't wait to see all of your scary, scary, lovely faces next summer in Long Beach.
Without masks on, hopefully.
Some like to wear masks, Gabe. This whole community is primed and prepped for this, baby.
That's true, actually. That's very true. If anybody's ready for masks, it's this community. Yes. But thank you again for joining us. And everybody, thank you for tuning into this week's episode talking about Taste of Knott's at Knott's Berry Farm. If you guys go to the event, let me know what you guys ate. Let me know what you tasted, what you liked, what you didn't like. I'm interested to hear everybody's opinions of the event. And if you're excited and you want to see a Taste of Scary Farm, let us know as well. Sound off on social media, which if you're not following us on social media, why not head on over to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. You could follow us by following or finding at Theme Park Duo pretty much on all of those different platforms. If you haven't already, make sure you head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star written review. It helps us out so much. It's a free way of supporting the show. And by doing that, it makes it easier for other people to find us so they can enjoy us like you are right now. And if you also want to connect with us, talk to us, let us know something about the show you like, you didn't like, suggestions, anything you want to hear us talk about here on the show, you could always email us at themeparkduo@gmail.com. As always, everybody, there's always a great big beautiful tomorrow. See ya!
Thanks for riding with the Theme Park Duo. Make sure to gather all your belongings before the end of the podcast. Bye-bye.